Alright, so I ended up getting an actual response on my nitromethane cooled engine. That was just genuinely like the most idiotic thing I've heard. It's like, you're gonna get nitric acid coming out of your exhaust. What? It doesn't burn at all and produce any nitric acid. I honestly was like, you're so idiotic, you wouldn't possibly post this without having some degree of truth. Oh, it doesn't. Not in the slightest does it. There's nothing there. Just a brief Google. I was like, oh, you know, I was right. Yeah. This is super simple to figure out. But then it's like, no, there are risks. Okay, first and foremost, before anyone that is out there that's like, man, I should try nitromethane cool my engine. No, you should not. I understand it has a very high vaporization temperature. It's a monopropellant. That means it explosively decomposes. It is a genuine dangerous engine. In no way am I endorsing someone making this engine at all. You should not make this. This is a dumb idea. Granted, it would work so long as you never ever go above a certain temperature to cause explosive decompression with a given pressure dynamic being achieved. So long as you basically just never go to a point where you're going to have to worry, you're good. And seeing as how we have fuel tanks that can do that, and engines that have the capacity to cool themselves, and nitromethane has a very high boiling temperature, and I'm just gonna fire it in as hot fucking, vaporized, and then pouring in more fuel, and then I'm gonna cool off the fuel by adding also more fuel into a radiator, so it's like, that's my condenser for the fuel thing. Right? Like, so long as you do a whole bunch of shit to cool the shit that's there, that's a monopropellant explosive gas, it'll work, everyone. It's definitely a thing that will do that. I would never, ever say it's a safe idea or you should do it. But at the same time, it's safe enough that technically you could do it and you wouldn't be able to feel fear of death doing it. Which is nice. I like that part. But, should you ever get into a car accident, which is likely to occur, because you have a ridiculous engine, then it's like, then you should probably be afraid and never do that. Like, legitimately never. But at the same time, you could do this with specific types of, because we use propane as a refrigerant, gases or petrols, liquid fuel that is not monopropellant and going to burn if you have an accident. And there are safety measures you can place into. That's the reason why I was like, look at my Noble Gas CO2 cooler. Like, begone! Oh, Lex, oh right, you're a monopropellant, like, that'll fucking matter. You know what I mean? But it's like, but on the other side, hint, I thought of an idea of a liquid propane version that could use that and fully take advantage of liquid propane being heated up in a boiling off refrigerant style, that then could use that as a, air intake system that I commented on Driving for Answers comment section as my Gray Life channel. But it's like, this is the dumbest one that I ever did, because it's like, I don't know if you understand this, but this is one of the most dangerous engines I ever made. Like, the propane cooled engine is in every way less dangerous than that fucker. But he's like, nitric acid. What does it matter? Nitric acid? What does that matter? It's a explosive monopropellant, you fucking retard. What the fuck? You're an idiot. Shut up. You sound like you think you know something, but you don't. Fucking nitric acid or muriatic acid. How'd you get around the nitric acid that you need to make nitromethane? Well, actually, nitric acid isn't super hard when you have stomach juices acid from your fecal matter during digestion. That's hydrochloric, you know? But then, like, you can turn hydrochloric into nitric if you know what you're doing. Which might be what they were referencing. Because I was like, you can get a bioreactor that'll do that if you want to make it at home yourself. Not even that hard to find nitric acid. It's like a seriously not hard to buy chemical. Anyways, I want to get off of it. Because, like, the basic premise here is that it's insane. Do, like, regular gas. Fuck ethanol. Never use ethanol. Literally nothing that has oxygen in it should be something you use. Always use some degree of, like, gas that's just very much able to boil off, like a propane or like a regular petrol liquid fuel. Anything like that is going to be safer in all aspects if you ever were to want to try and do it. And even then, I'm not recommending that you actually do. Only that it could be done, and it would have a high degree of thermal efficiency and have safety measures in place to not have you die. You know? So, it's one of those things where it's like, it has a very high thermal efficiency. No longer do you really actually even need what you think you need in terms of the amount of fuel and pressures and everything else. And then the only reason why I came up with it was because I was like, I'm sick and tired of this dumb idea that I can't use fuel as a coolant. I shall just inject fuel during the intake stroke and then burn it with some sparky workies and bury of the airified injector things that push lots of air in when I want it to for an exacting amount of air and fuel mixture each and every power stroke, alongside of having a nitrogen filter that removes the nitric oxide problem from most of it. Because it's not going to fully 100% remove nitric oxide. But, like, especially with nitromethane in it, like, it's still going to exist. Shocker, there's nitromethane. It produces nitric oxide. Shock face, right? Versus, like, well, here's some propane. It'll come in as liquid propane, and then it'll just force in some air that'll burn it properly. I don't really even need a fucking, you know, radiator. Fuck that. Why would I need that? That's stupid. That's the whole point of, like, the actual video, was, like, think about fuel as coolant. Like, you can spray in fuel to remove a large amount of heat and then create greater degrees of thermal efficiency from your engine while allowing for yourself to have better control over your burn and get better performance and efficiency from your engine than previously believed. You know, yeah, that's the reason why I put out my most recent single piston design. I'm like, I don't think people actually understood the whole reason why I made the nitromethane concept. First and foremost, it's a refrigerant design that is insanely amazing, non-complex, easy to produce, and can be in so many stupendously amazing ways produce insanely cold temperatures for practically no actual extra energy, which is great. You know, that's the main reason for it. And then, oh, by the way, injecting fuel as a coolant to cool off your cylinders is a totally doable way of removing some of that heat, excess heat from the cylinder sidewalls, and preserving the overall amount of use from your internal combustion engines, as it helps because it takes time for heat to radiate outwards. And so when you add in a little bit of fuel, or I mean a little bit of air to the given fuel, and then you can add in just enough to have that spark and then fire it in as necessary, you can create greater cylinder pressures versus top dead center pressures, which top dead center is all we ever do, versus like cylinder pressures, which can handle a lot higher degree of pressure because there's more surface area for it to be spread across, allowing for greater degrees of torque and higher degrees of horsepower and efficiencies as a result. That's what I was talking about with that single cylinder that I just put out. So there you go. That's why to me it's like, well, I don't need to get around nitric acid to produce nitromethane. Truthfully, I mean, I could do it. It's not that hard. All right, like if you take methane and you want to make a nitric, in an oxide, it's like just make a nitric oxide that produces itself via an electrolysis reaction, and then have a basic enzymatic bacteria, which does produce this, by the way, stick it as a catalyst sort of precursor with a little bit of shock and pressure, and that's an oscillatory pressure as it comes out as a gas with a little bit of this static field difference that creates a yank of the given electron, which helps basically get it close enough to then form a nitromethane. So that's why to me it's just pretty simple.